Oh! Oh, God. That is not an image I wanted to see. Oh. Welcome back to another video. We're watching SCP-747 by DrBOB today. I believe some of you recommended watching him actually, so we're going to check out his video and let me know what you think. Welcome if you're new, and, you know, sucks to be you if you're not. Let's just watch the video. Let's just watch the video.
The young man watches as the lily-white coffin is lowered into the ground. He's surprised at the dryness of his eyes, seeing as it's his own mother being buried. But now isn't the time for questions. When the dirt is piled on and the small service comes to an end, the young man is the last to leave. Other than the eulogy, he never says a single word to anyone. She'd been difficult towards the end. He'd cared for his mother until her disease had made it so that she wasn't really his mother anymore. And then for another...
Oh God, that animation looks horrifying. What the fuck?
2 years after that, things had been said and done that he wished he could remove from his memories of her. But the past is forever set.
This is an SCP, right? Yeah, it does say SCP. Just very morbid beginning, I suppose.
As he looks up from his mother's gravestone, he notices something strange in the distance, perhaps 30 feet away from him. A little girl, maybe about 10 years old, in a school uniform, standing behind another gravestone. She's wearing a worn-looking plastic pig.
No, thank you. I do not like children at the best of times. Children in horror movies can get the fuck out. Children in horror movies are like the scariest shit in the world, okay? Nah. If I ever saw a kid wearing a little pig mask, sorry to anyone if I upset you, but I would drop kick that kid so fast and book it out of there and just... No, I don't do kids. I don't do scary kids.
Pig mask and carrying a dirty rag doll. The young man stares into the dark eye holes of her mask for a moment, wondering if he's really seeing this or if she's a figment of his imagination brought on by stress and grief. Then he blinks and she's gone. For a second, he feels a frightening sentence looping through the dark recesses of his mind. You're starting to lose it already. A few years ahead of schedule. You'd make your mother proud. The young man shakes his head and leaves for home.
This guy's scary.
Of course, he might see things on a day like...
This guy's storytelling is like on point though. I'm on the edge of my seat. Not literally because I'd fall off, but figuratively I'm on the edge of my seat.
The mind does funny things when it's in a state of extreme emotional distress. It was perfectly natural that he'd see strange things on a day like this. But that little girl in the pig mask really did look real. Arriving home is a surreal experience. It's the first time in a long time that he's truly felt alone. Like a child lost in a vast and unfamiliar space.
Oh no!
Something about it just felt wrong. He makes himself a microwave meal and eats it silently in the kitchen.
Sounds like
the place
me.
is so quiet. No panicked yells or cries of pain. He sighs and looks out the kitchen window as he washes the dishes and, in the distance...
Did this SCP haunt his mother? I'm not in focus today. What the fuck? Maybe because I'm too animated. That's as in focus as we're getting. Sorry, guys. You'll just have to deal with it.
He sees another strange sight.
My bad.
A young boy, 12 years old or so, standing out in the cold, dark woods next to his house.
Oh my God!
Wearing only swimming trunks. Swimming trunks and a worn-looking
no
plastic
legs.
mouse mask. A rag doll hangs limply from his thin, pale arm, just like the one the girl in the graveyard was holding. The young man's first instinct is to go out and help the child. After all, it's a cold night. He could catch his death.
Excuse me? His first instinct after seeing two crazy killer-looking children is to go out and help them. This guy does not deserve to live. You would burn that forest down and everything associated with it. I'm sorry, but you deserve to die.
Death out there, but with another blink, the child is gone. Just trees in the dark. He breathes a ragged sigh and takes an aspirin. Something must really be wrong with him if he keeps seeing strange...
Takes an aspirin? Isn't aspirin a pain medication? Why would he be taking an aspirin? Is aspirin something different to what I think it is? I don't know. I don't know these American medications.
Strange children with animal faces out there. He trudges upstairs, hoping that maybe he'll get some sleep tonight and feel a little better in the morning. Shadows dart in the corners of his eyes, but he pays them no mind. He can't trust anything he sees today. He pauses for a moment in front of the room where his mother used to sleep. It looks cavernous without her tiny form nestled in the bed. He thinks about how she'd last been in that same room a little more than a week earlier. He sighs, turns off the light, and goes to bed. That night, the young man has strange...
Wait, he didn't sleep in the bed his mother died in, did he? I'm gonna assume that he's got his own bed, because that's a little weird.
Dreams. He feels like a tiny fish at the deepest, darkest point of the ocean, watching huge black shapes loom and shift around him. He's afraid. He feels like he's being watched. The sudden spike of terror jolts him out of his sleep, and that's when he sees them.
Oh
the
my
children in the animal
God.
masks, 7 of them now. They stand around his bed, hand in hand, like they're playing some kind of game, but in dead silence. Each one has a rag doll sitting patiently at their feet. Logically, he should be more afraid upon seeing them. It's the strangest experience of his life. And yet, he feels an odd sense of empty calm settle over him, like a warm blanket. His eyes close, and sleep takes him again.
What? What? Who the fuck wakes up to find creepy killer children in masks sitting around that bed and they go to sleep? They feel... Who? What is... Are you a psychopath? This guy's fucking crazy.
When the young man wakes up the next morning, something doesn't feel right. He's already dismissed the strange children with the animal masks and the dolls as a figment of his imagination, a half-waking dream. But what he can't dismiss is the numbness in his fingers and toes. It's like he'd spent all night sleeping in the cold outside, despite his room being perfectly warm. Perhaps he's coming down with something. Other strange things start to happen over the next few days. He makes himself a sandwich, and as he bites into it, he notices he can't taste a thing. Come to think of it, he really can't smell that much either. Could this be a cold? The flu?
I feel like this video didn't age well at all, given the current climate. I don't think this is an SCP. I think he's just caught something to do with the local pandemic.
Something worse? Also, he just can't shake the feeling that he isn't alone in the house. It's as if he can feel a presence there with him. And not just one presence, but multiple. Could it have something to do with those strange dreams and hallucinations, the children in the masks? He suppresses the thoughts, not wanting to consider their implication. He can scarcely dare to ponder what's worse, that there really are strange little children in masks creeping around his home, making him sick, or that he's losing his mind, just like his mother. He puts it out of his mind, but every so often, when he happens to glance out of the window, he can't help but see little shapes moving in the distance. When he watches the TV or tries to listen to music to distract himself, he notices that he needs to turn up the volume more than he ever did before. His hearing is getting worse. Could this be some kind of sinus thing? It's the only rational explanation. But it can be hard to apply a rational explanation when what's happening is inherently irrational. Several days later, after getting out of bed in the morning and standing in front of the bathroom mirror, the young man notices something is different. It's his skin. It's a pale, almost creamy color now, like all the life and vitality has been leached out of it. But it's not just that. He looks closer at his face in the mirror. His eyes...
Do I look life? Oh my God, what the fuck is that? Is that a tendon? Why does my wrist look so weird?
Have they always looked like that? Were they always that shade of dark, murky brown? Maybe it's his addled mind, but he can swear something is different, like the ground is shifting underneath his feet. That's when he notices something in the corner of the mirror, a little boy with dark blue overalls and a grinning cat mask. He just stands there, watching. The young man turns, hoping to finally see one of these strange children up close.
Just burn the whole
course,
house down.
There's nothing there. Over the following days, it all gets worse. 2 weeks since the funeral, and his senses of taste and smell haven't returned. His hearing gets worse by the day, until he's almost entirely deaf. The sightings of the children don't stop, but they're harder to make out. Over time, his vision starts to blur, and no matter how hard he rubs his eyes, they never clear.
What the?
He stubs his toe, cracking the toenail open from tip to base. He doesn't even notice. Little by...
Oh, God. That is not an image I wanted to see. Oh. don't like feet at the best of times, but like the pain of stubbing your toe and having the... Oh, no. That's the most horrible thing in it so far.
By little, feeling itself is starting to leave him. He doesn't even notice until the day he decides to chop some carrots for a soup he's making, hoping in vain that this one might be the meal he can finally taste. But his vision is getting so blurry now, he can barely... The knife cuts into his palm. It takes him a second to even register, because there's no pain and no blood. He stares at the clean wound in his palm with detached fascination, trying to work out the shapes in front of him, to make sense of it all. What are those thin white strands sticking out of the cut? He grabs the edge of the skin, though it doesn't look much like skin now, more like pale, ragged fabric, and he peels it back. No blood, no sinew, no flesh, just
stuffing.
Puffy white stuffing underneath.
He's a doll!
He's in bed, and has been for a few days now. He can't taste, smell, hear, feel, or even see. All he can do is think in the dark. He's confused and afraid. He wants his mother, but she's long gone. On the outside, he's shrinking away, drawing into himself. He can't move or talk as he gets smaller and smaller.
The kids turned him into a doll!
The children in masks, ready to receive their new toy. The young man is nothing more. All that's left is another rag doll with a pair of brown button eyes laying on the bed. A little boy in a rabbit mask steps forward and picks it up. He stares at it for a moment before the children leave, and the house is empty once more. This is the kind of unpleasant, anomalous experience you can expect from a close encounter with SCP-747.
That's horrifying.
Children and dolls. SCP-747 specifically refers...
Okay, I'm just saying now, I've never watched this guy's videos, I don't think, but I'm really liking this guy's video. I like how he tells a little story and then goes into detail about the SCP. I don't know, I think this might be one of my favorite content creators for SCP so far. I really like this style. Whoever recommended him to me, thank you very much. Really, really enjoying this so far.
Refers to the phenomenon of these strange, anomalous children wearing animal masks. Studies have shown that, masks aside, all of these children are identical to children who have proven to have died around the time that their anomalous counterparts first manifested. This leads us to the working theory that the SCP-747 instances are spectral manifestations of the children they once were, twisted somehow by the unifying force of SCP-747.
That's kind of sad.
This is a theory supported by several pieces of unsettling information. Agents from the SCP Foundation disguised as grief counselors conducted interviews with the bereaved parents of each of the deceased children, and through these heart-wrenching interviews, they were able to discover that each of the children who died had possessed a doll that they loved very dearly. So much so that the dolls were each buried with them, because on some level, the thought of separating them from this last comfort of the mortal world was too painful for the parents to bear. Given the preoccupation with dolls exhibited by SCP-747 instances, the Foundation found these facts to be highly illuminating. The physicality of SCP-747 instances, or rather, the lack thereof, also points towards the theory of them being powerful spectral manifestations. They are able to phase through solid surfaces of...
So they're basically just like the spirits and sort of souls. My light has gone really dark all of a sudden. Hang on. So they're kind of like the spirit, like spectral embodiment of these kids with their dolls, right? But they turn people into dolls.
Up to 10 centimeters in thickness, and can sometimes have difficulty in holding solid objects due to their partially solid nature. They live mysterious and lonely lives on a plane of reality adjacent to our own, and they have never been seen to speak, though it's likely that they do have some form of communication with one another. Outside of individuals they're directly targeting, the SCP-747 children show little interest in other non-anomalous humans. They mainly seem to occupy themselves with their dolls and with each other. It is unknown to what extent the children are truly sentient, but they do appear to have some form of self-comprehension, manifesting in an awareness of the space they take up and their surroundings, which keeps them from bumping into things as they walk. But of course, their spectrality is hardly the most unsettling or eye-catching feature of SCP-747.
What do the masks
No, the real
mean?
danger of SCP-747 is the fact that they're able to turn human beings into dolls, a process which takes a matter of seconds to instill, but 21 torturous days to finally take effect.
It takes 21 days? Oh my god, that poor guy. He was fucking tortured for 21 days and then turned into a doll. I'm gonna be watching my
In order to begin this process, the children will select a human that intrigues them, perhaps one that would fit in nicely with their collection. The Foundation isn't currently aware whether there are any fixed criteria for victim selection or if it's just a matter of wrong place at the wrong time. When the time is right and their selection is secure, they'll lock hands and form a ring around the human in question for 5 to 7 seconds. This is all it takes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds.
That is fucking
You're
horrifying.
already at the point of no return. After completing this brief ritual, the children will go their separate ways, and the process will begin to take hold. This is why it's so imperative for the SCP Foundation to keep a lid on SCP-747's activities. While there's no cure for the process once the ritual is done, it is possible to prevent the ritual from being completed in the first place by escaping the circle and leaving the SCP-747 children. However, they have cognitohazardous measures against.
So basically, it's his own fault for being so chill about the whole situation. I said in the first place, if he just burnt the forest down and booked it, he probably would have never been caught in the first place.
With many victims reporting a sense of blankness or thoughtlessness while within the circle. They induce a placid state of mind to prevent resistance from the horrible fate they're bestowing.
Never mind.
The transformation doesn't incur any immediate symptoms. However, after 15 minutes or so, the victim will begin to experience numbness in the extremities, much like the kind caused by cold weather or poor blood circulation. Symptoms will gradually worsen over the next 21 days, though if the victim enters a state of chronic stress or anxiety, this process could potentially shorten to as little as 10 days. The conversion can often be neatly divided into 3 distinct stages. Stage 1. Loss of minor senses. The most frightening aspect of this initial stage of transformation is the fact that many of its symptoms could easily be written off as that of more common minor ailments. The senses of smell, taste, and hearing will begin to dampen and then disappear.
Yeah, as I said, this didn't really age well because that could definitely be attributed to something else at the moment.
Entirely, in what may at first seem like a severe cold. The victim may express a sense of distress at their condition at this stage, but will remain largely mentally stable. Any deviations from that expectation into more extreme mental instability should be taken as a sign of an accelerated transformation rate. However, towards the end of Stage 1, a more pronounced change will start to take hold. The victim will notice a slow shift of their eye color and skin tone to reflect the colors of the doll, though this is only the beginning. Stage 2, loss of major senses.
I'm very paranoid about my skin tone.
Over the next 13 days, the victims will begin to lose their senses of sight and touch, resulting in extreme mental instability and stress. The victims may attempt to perform gruesome experiments on themselves, trying to rediscover feelings in their body.
Oh my
only
God!
To become more unstable upon realizing that
This video is so brutal!
the senses are gone for good. At this stage, the frightening anomalous physical changes will become even more pronounced. The skin of the victim will take on a rough, ragged quality as it transforms from normal skin into a variety of fabrics. The internal organs are also slowly transformed into a patchwork of synthetic stuffings.
What the
and even the
fuck?
victim's eyes will start to harden into buttons. However, the victim will remain alive throughout this entire grim process, even as their autonomy over their own body rapidly fades away. Stage 3. Full transformation.
They're not actually
Within 24
conscious
hours
as a
of
doll,
entering
right?
Stage 3, the victim is fully and irreparably turned into a doll. The SCP-747 children will treat this doll just like they treat any others, and if ever a doll created by the influence of SCP-747 is destroyed, they will show greater interest in humans once again, until a new target for conversion is selected.
So basically, don't touch their dolls, and they won't have a need to go out and get new ones, right?
The SCP Foundation currently has 7 SCP-747 specimens in containment. SCP-747-01 is an approximately 7-year-old male wearing a set of blue pajamas and a zebra mask. SCP-747-02 is an approximately 12-year-old male wearing swimming trunks and a mouse mask. SCP-747-03 is an approximately 10-year-old female wearing a uniform typical of an expensive private school and a pig mask. SCP-747-04 is an approximately 14-year-old male wearing a winter coat and a rabbit mask. SCP-747-05 is an approximately 12-year-old female wearing a striped sari and a giraffe mask. SCP-747-06 is an approximately 5-year-old girl with a bright pink dress typical of a beauty pageant contestant and a goat mask. And finally, SCP-747-07 is an approximately 9-year-old male wearing blue overalls and a cat mask. Interestingly, he was also found with a physical note, containing
Ooh.
a short story about a mother searching for her child in the afterlife. Interestingly, the mother of this particular entity, before becoming an SCP-747 instance, is believed to have died in childbirth.
Aww.
All of the SCP-747 instances that the Foundation has in containment are kept in a single containment chamber, 30 meters by 10 meters in size, with concrete walls at least 15 centimeters thick.
30 meters by 10 meters. That's livable, I suppose, for
To
children.
prevent the children from phasing through them. It is mandatory
15 centimeters thick of concrete, because otherwise they can escape. What the fuck? How did they get them in here in the first place? Did they lure them in with someone they liked?
that any unusual
must have.
behaviors by the children are reported to a superior immediately. If the children seem to take an interest in any members of the staff that research, guard,
Oh, no. That is horrifying. Look at that fucking...
immediately. If the children seem to take an interest in any
That's fucking scary. Can you imagine going into work one day and having that staring at you?
members of the staff that research, guard, or attend to them, that member of personnel must be transferred to a different project immediately. The children are allowed a total of 25 dolls to keep them placated, excluding ones created by their anomalous influence, and the SCP Foundation only permits their dolls to be temporarily removed from the containment chamber for examination and repair. Any staff members who begin to show the previously described symptoms of anomalous SCP-747 influence are to be quarantined and contained separately. Task Force 747B8 remains on call in the event of a containment breach to handle tracking, capture, and containment. Due to the incredibly volatile and dangerous nature of interfacing with SCP-747, Level 3 staff and above are only able to come into contact with them if the situation absolutely demands it. SCP-747 has been given the containment object class Euclid due to their phasing abilities and unpredictable nature. After all, who could ever really know what's going on behind those masks? But there's
So as long as they're not interested in you, they're relatively safe to be around, correct? As long as they don't want to turn you into a doll, I mean. They're relatively safe to be around. That's... This one's kind of spooky, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah.
one more detail about SCP-747 that is perhaps the most frightening of all.
Oh my god, there's another
There
one?
is evidence that suggests that the victims who have been turned into SCP-747
They're conscious,
dolls
aren't they?
may not actually be dead. In fact, they may still remain conscious, cut off from all their senses, slowly descending further into madness.
I fucking knew
Now
it.
go and watch
I
another
knew
entry
it!
from the files of DrBOB, like SCP-4666, the Yule Man, for more eerie and
I knew it. I told you. I was literally like, I bet they're still conscious of being dolls. My god, that one was creepy. Mr. Bob, Dr. Bob, sorry. What a fantastic video. Really well done. Kudos to you, my friend. Definitely going to be checking out more of your videos. And yeah, I mean, I don't like children. You know, children scare me at the best of times, and that's normal children. So creepy animal mask wielding dead ghost children that turn you into dolls. No, thank you. No, thank you. You stay as far away from me as possible. I don't want nothing to do with that shit. That was horrifying. Probably one of my probably one of my favorites so far, but I say that literally every single one that I watch. So, you know, that only does so much. But yeah, that was a really good one. Kudos, Dr. Bob. Gonna definitely check out some more of your videos. And if you enjoyed it, then leave a like or a subscribe. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers. So like really excited. So happy that you guys are enjoying the videos. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye now. Watch out for ghost children.